What's up, guys? Jermaine Chef from Off the Dome back in for another video. Today's the top 10 wrestlers who are misused, or what I would call the top 10 WWE failures of the 2010s. Now, before the video starts, let me give some background. By failures, I don't mean that they didn't win a championship or they didn't have a push. I mean that overall, due to the storyline, personal decisions of these people, and crowd reception, these guys were failures overall in becoming any type of successful stars long term or for the short term for what the company wanted to use them for. So with that being said, don't be surprised with some of these picks, because many of these picks on this list do have Intercontinental Championship reigns, WWE Championship reigns, Universal title reigns, and have went on for different title shots and may have won a Royal Rumble or two. But still, it still does not negate the fact that these guys didn't reach their full potential, whether it was their own fault or it was the company or a combination of both. So let's get into number 10, which is the man who claims that he's so awesome. It's The Miz. The Miz has been with the company for nearly 20 years. Since 2004, he's been a reality TV show star, and his rise and peak of his career was from 2009 to 2012. Now, The Miz could have been I don't want to say megastar, but I think he could have been a bigger name than what he was. But due to The Rock and Cena coming back at the wrong time, and due to Brock Lesnar coming back, and due to Triple H still wanting to headline with Undertaker, me and The Miz attempts and advancements and become a main event player were pretty much put to the side. And after his initial WWE Championship win and his shady victory at WrestleMania 20, what is it? I believe that was 27. He hasn't been the same, and although he has been feuding with Daniel Bryan in recent years and has some interesting Intercontinental Championship reigns that has one of the best mouths in the game today when it comes to promo, he still never reached his full potential, and it's a sad thing to see. Number 9, we have Roman Reigns. The reason why he's so low is because to the extent he did achieve what the company wanted, but he still hasn't took the spot of John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Undertaker. This decade, John Cena has still been the top guy, Brock Lesnar has been the top guy, Undertaker has been the face of the company. Those three guys are the face of your company. Many people don't know who Roman Reigns is, and I haven't seen any of his merchandise ever worn by anyone outside of a wrestling arena. It's quite sad to see that, especially since he's been basically the big dog since 2014. Number 8, we have Elias Sampson, a.k.a. Walk with Elias. A huge fumble on that part. When he started feuding with Jeff Jarrett last year, it was a signal that Elias wasn't serious, and he wasn't going to be taken serious by the company. His debut album, Walk with Elias, debuted at number 26 on Billboard top album digital sales, and he had something going there. Mainstream audience were buying his stuff, and it seemed like he was a good promo. His singing gimmick, similar to The Rock, was actually working out. But due to him never winning any type of gold, never getting over in the feud, and continuously made to look like a joke, Elias would never become anything greater than just a funny type skit guy. Number 7, we have Feed Me More Steroids. Now I'm playing. But Ryan Reeves, a.k.a. Skip Sheffield, a.k.a. Ryback, was the biggest name in wrestling for a majority of 2013, and his rise to fame came in 2012. Now, although he was very botchy in the ring, and people said that they complained that he injured people, there are also reports to dispute that, saying that there was overblown, and some people did not even tell him that they felt injury afterwards. They weren't honest with him, so he could never prove his work. But either way, they dealt with Bill Goldberg, they dealt with Brock Lesnar, they dealt with many green wrestlers before they dealt with Braun Strowman. Why haven't they not used Ryback to their full extent? The truth is, they still wanted Cena, he still wanted The Rock, they still wanted Brock and Undertaker. When Ryback had the opportunity to eliminate John Cena, he didn't. He didn't get the win of Royal Rumble. And ever since that one loss of that win of Rumble, that basically was a spiral down for him. And he left the company, I believe, in 2015 after being the Intercontinental Champion. And I think he lost to R-Truth eventually. No, not R-Truth. It was someone else that was pretty low on the card. But speaking of R-Truth, you have our number 6 pick, Ron Killings, Mr. K-Quick, R-Truth to the Izzle. Now, R-Truth came back in 2009 after he'd been gone from WWE for about 10 years. He was the former Hardcore Champion. He's the first NWA World Heavyweight Champion that was black in TNA. And he came back in 2009. He started rapping, singing, dancing, whatnot. He was already older then. I think Ron Killings is mid to late 40s now. So he's at a story year in the business. But the point is, R-Truth peak was when he started becoming the angry, snapping black man in 2011. And when he formed with The Miz, this could have been an opportunity for him and The Miz to both become top guys and actually be something that people could look forward to Hayden as a villain. They did play the villain part perfectly. He was the perfect scapegoat for everything. He was always the guy who was on edge. Miz had the mouthpiece. Truth had the charisma. And they were a perfect team, and I think they should have won tag team gold. I think they should have kept the tag team championships. I think they should have got the mid-card titles. And I think overall, if the Nexus or the core would work, I think they should have joined the group and started a dominant faction. But I know the Shield took the idea a year or two later after their push. But still sad to see a Survivor Series when John Cena and The Rock teamed together, got rid of Miz and Truth. And ever since that year, R-Truth particularly hasn't had another peak year. Now with the 24/7 title, that's R-Truth's thing. And I'm happy to see him there, but he could have been greater than what he was. Number 5 is a wrestler who has had, I believe, 4 different pushes. And each of the 4 pushes have been used to promote another top guy. And every time he has somehow became less of a man after each one. Alexander Rusev, a.k.a. Rusev now, was billed as the Russian Brute, then became the Bulgarian Brute. He was originally built up to feed to John Cena, which he was, and he lost the United States Championship to John Cena at WrestleMania. He was built up again to get fed to Roman Reigns. He was built up again to get fed to Reigns again. And finally, he was halfway built up just to have a number of failed WWE title attempts, failed United States Championship attempts, and now is currently being a cuckold to Bobby Lashley. That sentence alone should tell you how bad his career has gotten since 2015 when he originally appeared on WWE television and was signed to WWE, I believe, in 2012. Number 4 is the guy who's been with WWE just as long as The Miz almost. And although I do not like him anymore, he is very repetitive, he is very boring now, and his time has been past. You have to give it up to Dolph Ziggler. One thing about the good old boy Dolph, he was that guy. He was the guy that people cheered for. Him, Cody Rhodes, and someone I'm mentioned later on the list were the fan favorites for an amount of time. They were people that you were excited to see in the ring, match after match. He had good promo skills. He had it back in the Vic Guerrero. He had a few with Edge in 2011. He had a lot of good things going for him. The downfall of Dolph Ziggler happened after the Money in the Bank cash-in with Alberto Del Rio. He got injured after that, and he never was the same since. And although people claim he was a small guy, this tells about the change of the times because he was considered a smaller guy when he first started. But now you see the current landscape. He's the same size as Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and the rest of them. So in hindsight, you might as well did something with the guy. But now I don't care about him because he's very boring, very repetitive. So I'm kind of glad he didn't get to the peak he did. But he still is a huge failure for WWE because if him, The Miz, R-Truth, and 3 other people on this list were used correctly, I think the main event scene wouldn't be as bad as it is now. And you still won't have John Cena and Brock Lesnar as your top guys. Number 3 is a guy who, although was a joke talent and started off in the tag team with Edge and Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder is number 3. And his push in 2012 was abysmal and it showed that I think if Zack Ryder wasn't crushed as bad, maybe the Daniel Bryan yes move wouldn't have been as big because fans wouldn't have felt like they'd been abandoned. But Zack Ryder is a decent-sized dude. I think he's 6'2". He's 238. He benches, he presses, he looks pretty good. He had a decent gimmick. He was a New Yorker that was kind of dumb and kind of partyish. And the Jersey Shore equivalent, he's the Robbie E of WWE. And his annoying attitude was somehow endearing to many fans. He got over. And at the time, WWE wasn't as huge on YouTube as they are now. And him getting 400,000, 500,000 views was something to be very proud of at the time. Up, Down, with New Day and the rest of the shows hadn't come yet. The WWE Network was just getting launched later on that year. So for him to be that popular on YouTube and for them to waste his talent and bury him like this really shows how much the company was willing to sacrifice their reach online at the time. Number 2 is a guy who everyone agrees is one of the most wasted talents. He had the size, he had the charisma, he had the mouthpiece, and he was a decent wrestler. And arguably, between him and Bray Wyatt and some others, he has been misused, except for with Bray Wyatt. He's not on this list because he actually got used, and now he's currently the Universal Champion. And after all the trials and tribulations, at least he's had 4 or 5 different reincarnations, and the last one finally worked for him. But Damien Sandow, number 2, is a baffling case. A guy who was an FCW, a guy who was on NXT, Aaron Stevens. He debuted on the main roster, I believe, in late 2012. The intellectual Savior Masters went on to achieve a decent size of the fan base. He was a heel that everybody liked to hate, but they loved his mouth skills and loved seeing him. He had a good body and a good look, and basically an all-around good wrestler, in my opinion. After his failed cash-in attempt against John Cena in 2014, all of his chances of success were washed down the window. And since then, he became Miz's partner and was more over than the Miz and half of the roster. The Hulk Hogan gimmick a little bit before that, before the racism thing came out. And after all that stuff transpired, I think he asked for his release and they released him, or even he was released. I'm not sure about that part. But Damon Sandow, if you always argue about how wrestlers are too small, or they don't have mic skills, or they don't have decent in-ring skills, but they're not flip-floppy wrestlers, he was the total package. Out of everybody on this list, and he's not number one, but out of everybody on this list, he was a total package. And I think when it came to mainstream viewers, I think Damien Sandow, The Miz, and Roman Reigns, if used correctly, could have had the most reach. But number one is a guy who I think could have had reach, but not as much as Damien Sandow. But the position he started his career in, is sad to see where he wound up at. And partially it is his fault, so I can't put it all on WWE, but it's Wade Barrett. He's injury prone, which is true, and that may affect his push chances. But his initial push, he was not injured at all, and it was all due to John Cena and the powers that be in the back, burying him in the Nexus chances at SummerSlam. Chris Jericho and Edge were right. When they lost at SummerSlam, that was it for Wade Barrett. When they lost the Survivor Series, that was it for Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett, although a very tall, stocky man, sometimes very boring on the mic, he had a decent look and a decent size, and he had a nice type of brawling repertoire where he could always be a good villain. And when you see Bad News Barrett and King Barrett, he has some of his better promos. So he improved over time. So maybe they would have invested in a young Barrett in 2010 and 11. Before they squandered his chances, he could have been something special. And when they created Core and the new Nexus and all these other storylines, it kind of washed away his original impact. And by the time 2016 came, I think that's when he asked for his release, and they gave it to him because he was in the freaking League of Nations with Rusev and Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus. That was the proof that all four of those guys had failed at what they were supposed to accomplish. Now, you're asking, why isn't Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio on the list? Well, because Sheamus, I never had that much hope for him in the first place. So the fact that he became a 4-time world champion, no, I think a 3-time world champion, a tag team champion, is still employed. That's amazing to me. And Alberto Del Rio got way more than I think he deserved. So, yeah, they're not on this list. But Wade Barrett deserved better. I think if he would have had a decent push out the gate, maybe he could have did something with the audience. Maybe it could have created more heat against Cena to make Cena more likable. But whoever knows? And they never did it. But anyway, it's your man Chef from Off the Dome. Let me know if you like this list. Comment who you think should be on this list, who shouldn't be on this list. I got new videos coming for you every single day. It's your man Chef from Off the Dome. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Peace out.